Throughout the history of team sports, dynasties have largely become the goal of every franchise. It's what fans mostly remember. When you ask people about some of the most recent dynasties in the last 40 years in sports, most will point to the New York Islanders or Edmonton Oilers of hockey, the Golden State Warriors or Chicago Bulls of basketball, the New York Yankees of baseball, and the Real Madrids of European football. However, in the NFL, the last dynasty we witnessed was the early rendition of Bill Belichick's New England Patriots, where they won 3 Super Bowls over a 4-year stretch. And interestingly enough, this Patriots team's first championship coincided with the demise of another team's aspirations of becoming a dynasty. The St. Louis Rams of the late 90s and early 2000s, also known as the greatest show on turf. After winning Super Bowl 34, this was a team many critics labeled as the NFL's next big dynasty. However, like so many other great teams that came before and after them, they fell short and were unable to meet the lofty expectations bestowed upon them. Simply put, while this team had all the right moving parts to become a dynasty, they were probably more known for being a dynasty that never was. Guys, before we continue, I gotta give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, Keeps. Keeps is a subscription service that helps men keep their hair. With 2 out of 3 men experiencing hair loss by the age of 35, now is the time to proactively take care of your precious hair. And what's more, you can do all of this in the comfort of your own home. No more doctor appointments or awkward pharmacy purchases, as Keeps delivers everything to your front door at half the cost of traditional pharmacies. They even assist you throughout the process, as they have a 24/7 support team with expert medical advisors to assist you. So whether you're looking to prevent hair loss or stimulate hair growth, Keeps is the answer to your problems. So do yourself and your missus a favor and make the necessary investment on your hair. Hair loss stops with Keeps, and to get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/clashersports. That's keeps.com/clashersports. Once again, thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video. In the 1998 NFL season, the St. Louis Rams finished 4th in the NFC West with an abysmal 4-12 record. Led by former second-round pick Tony Banks, who finished the season completing 7 TDs against 14 interceptions, this Rams offense was pretty much in shambles. They had 0 running game, as their committee of backs were only able to muster a mere 3.5 yards per carry. The passing game was atrocious, to the point where Isaac Bruce's productivity took a dip with Banks under center. The team's leading pass catcher was Ricky Proehl, who was the only receiver to amass more than 500 receiving yards. The defense ranked 25th after allowing 378 points, and the only bright spot on the season was defensive end Kevin Carter's 12 recorded sacks. Hence, this ushered in a series of changes in the offseason as the team cut ties with Tony Banks, sending him to Baltimore in exchange for 2 draft picks. They then signed Washington's Trent Green, who had a breakout season as a starting QB, to a 4-year, $16.5 million contract. Green was slated to be the starter after recording 23 TDs to 11 interceptions, with Marshall Faulk as a new lead back. The Rams traded for Faulk and broke the bank in the process, signing the running back to a 7-year deal. They also drafted wide receiver Torry Holt with the 6th overall pick to give their new QB more options in attack. And last but not least, probably one of the most important changes that would come to fruition down the road was head coach Dick Vermeil's hiring of offensive coordinator Mike Martz. Martz had previously worked with the Rams in various offensive roles before going to Washington as a QB coach for Trent Green. So with that being said, there was renewed optimism surrounding the Rams in the 1999 NFL season. Mind you, this was a team that hadn't made the playoffs once in the 1990s, and with all their offseason acquisitions, fans were expecting big things.
That's about the norm these days. Blitz comes again. Green deep drop this time. Throws to the right side, wide open and out of bounds is Tony Small, the rookie out of Georgia. And Green went down hard and is not getting up. And that looks bad.
You do not want, writhing in pain, you do not want to see this.
Then on August 28, 1999, in a meaningless preseason game against the San Diego Chargers, things took a turn for the worse for St. Louis when quarterback Trent Green suffered a season-ending injury after a low tackle made by Rodney Harrison. This ushered in 27-year-old QB Kurt Warner to finish out the rest of the game, and with less than 2 weeks remaining to kickstart the new season, Dick Vermeil made the decision not to sign a veteran quarterback and stick with the unproven QB, a move that later turned out to be ingenious. The quarterback no one ever wanted was having one of the greatest individual seasons in NFL history. Kurt threw for 41 touchdowns, joining Dan Marino at the time as the only QBs to throw for 40 or more TDs in a single season. Add on top of that his 4,353 passing yards and 109.2 passer rating, Kurt Warner was rewarded with the league MVP. Running back Marshall Faulk was another key catalyst in Mike Martz's Air Coryell-style offense as he recorded over 2,400 scrimmage yards along with 12 TDs and a league-leading 5.5 yards per carry. Faulk also became the second player in history to record over 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards in the same season. He'd go on to win the Offensive Player of the Year award as the Rams boasted the best offense in the league, scoring an incredible 526 points. St. Louis's offense was moving in all cylinders as receiver Isaac Bruce had a bounce-back campaign with over 1,000 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns, and rookie receiver Torry Holt became the number 2 target, posting 788 receiving yards along with 6 scores. And defensively for the Rams, Kevin Carter continued his incredible form as he tallied a league-leading 17 sacks as St. Louis had the 4th-ranked defense, giving up only 242 points in the campaign. With that being said, Kurt Warner led the Rams to the NFC West Division title with a 13-3 record and secured home field advantage throughout the postseason before Week 17. In the playoffs, St. Louis overcame another offensive juggernaut in the Minnesota Vikings in the divisional round before playing a close nip-and-tuck game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Struggling throughout much of the match on offense, Kurt Warner came up big in the clutch after connecting with Ricky Proehl on a touchdown pass to take an 11-6 lead and book their ticket to the Georgia Dome the week later. In the Super Bowl, the Rams opened with a 16-0 lead before the Tennessee Titans stormed their way back, tying the game at 16 apiece. With a couple minutes left, Kurt Warner came in and gave his team the lead after he connected with Isaac Bruce on a 73-yard TD pass. The Titans would fall short on their final last-minute drive as Steve McNair's pass to Kevin Dyson fell short of the goal line before the game clock ended. And with that, the 1999 St. Louis Rams won their first ever Super Bowl title. Kurt Warner won the MVP, capping off an incredible season that ESPN dubbed to be the greatest one-year wonder in the history of the National Football League. With St. Louis ranking first in pretty much every offensive category, they took the league by storm. That, coupled with their stringent defense, they set a new single-season record in point differential with 284. And after winning the Super Bowl, many consider the '99 Rams as one of the greatest single-season teams in NFL history. So obviously, they were hot favorites to repeat as champions in the 2000 season. However, they would have to do so without their head coach, Dick Vermeil, who made the decision to retire after the Super Bowl. And so Mike Martz came in to take over the helm in St. Louis. In the 2000 season, the Rams offense continued to dominate the league. The offense put up 540 points for the 3rd highest single season total at the time. In their first 8 games, they scored 34 or more points, including scoring 41 or more in 6 games, proving the season prior was no fluke. Kurt Warner in his first 6 games threw for over 300 yards, but then in Week 7, the quarterback sustained a broken hand, leaving the game and missed the next 5 starts. Backup Trent Green came in and did an admirable job as he threw 16 TDs to 5 picks, but the Rams still managed to lose 4 games during that stretch. With the absence of Warner, the Rams' passing game still managed to set the NFL single-season record with 5,492 passing yards. Running back Marshall Faulk had arguably his greatest season ever as he scored 26 times even after missing 2 games due to injury. and the receiving tandem of Torry, Holt, and Isaac Bruce exploded in the passing game as they combined for over 3,100 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns. However, the only blemish on this team was their defense. Where a season earlier they had ranked 4th in points allowed, this time around they ranked dead last, giving up 471 points. St. Louis nearly ranked last in every major defensive category. Hence, the team went 10-6 and nearly missed the playoffs, but secured a wildcard berth in Week 17. In the playoffs, St. Louis faced division rivals, the New Orleans Saints, for a consecutive week. With Warner back from injury, the QB struggled against the Saints as he was picked off 3 times. For much of the first 3 quarters, Kurt had trouble getting the offense rolling, and it wouldn't be until midway through the 4th quarter and in garbage time when Warner completed 3 consecutive scores to bring the Rams within 3 points of the Saints. And while for much of the season and in this playoff game, the defense had always let the team down, but with less than 2 minutes remaining and the Saints punting the ball back to St. Louis, special teams was now going to be front and center.
After the punt, which is fair, caught at the 9-yard line and then fumbled at the 11-yard line, and who has the football?
The following offseason left for many tough decisions. With Trent Green playing so well when called upon, the coaching staff had to make a decision what to do with their quarterback situation. And eventually, Green was traded to the Chiefs in exchange for the 12th overall pick in the 2001 NFL Draft. But the more pressing issue was what the team was going to do with their dreadful defense. And on came a number of changes as 9 of the 11 defensive starters were cut and Bucs linebackers coach Lovie Smith was brought in as the defensive coordinator to help shore up the D. On top of that, the team also drafted 3 defensive players with the 3 first-round picks they had at their disposal and made a flurry of changes on defense via trades and free agency. So when the 2001 season came by, the Rams looked very different with a very much improved defense. St. Louis would go on for the 3rd consecutive season to start a campaign with a 6-0 record. The defense showed incredible improvements as they only allowed 273 points, almost 200 points less than the previous season. The offense continued to steamroll through opposing teams as they finished tops in scoring for the 3rd straight season. Kurt Warner completed 36 touchdown passes and threw for over 4,800 yards as he led the Rams to a league-leading 14-2 record. In the postseason, St. Louis easily dispatched Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers to the tune of a 45-17 final score. And then in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, the defense came up big in the second half as they kept Philly's offense at bay. So the St. Louis Rams went on to their 2nd Super Bowl appearance in 3 seasons as they would face the New England Patriots, who went into this game as 14-point underdogs. This was a chance for the Rams to reignite discussions of a dynasty if they managed to come out on top. Despite outgaining the Patriots in total yards, the Rams lost 20-17 thanks to 3 turnovers and a walk-off 48-yard field goal by Adam Vinatieri. This was an embarrassing loss on the biggest stage to an underdog team no one gave a chance to win. After the season, Kurt Warner picked up his 2nd league MVP and Marshall Faulk won his 3rd consecutive Offensive Player of the Year award. In 3 seasons, the St. Louis Rams managed to score over 500 points each season, post double-digit winning seasons, and make 2 trips to football's biggest game. So obviously, many expected the team to run it back the following season. They were still relatively young on both offense and defense, while Kurt was in the middle of his prime and Marshall had just arguably posted the 3 best seasons from a running back ever. However, then the unthinkable happened. In the 2002 season, the St. Louis Rams managed to lose their first 5 games. Kurt Warner threw just 1 touchdown to 7 interceptions in those first 3 games before breaking his finger in Week 4 against Dallas. And to make matters worse, Warner only played 2 more games for the remainder of the season and recorded 3 TDs to 11 interceptions and an incredible 8 fumbles, 6 of which came in the last 2 starts. And so, the quarterback who was responsible for much of the offensive success the 3 seasons prior was now being blamed for a disappointing 2002 campaign. That being said, Kurt was still named a starter in the 2003 season opener, but miraculously lost his job in that game after he fumbled the football 6 times. Backup Mark Bulger came in and replaced the former 2-time MVP as Kurt Warner was now on looking from the sidelines. He watched as his Rams finished the season going 12-4 and into the playoffs, where they would lose in double overtime to the eventual NFC champion, the Carolina Panthers. Despite winning 12 games, the Rams' aerial attack would be no more. Quarterback Mark Bulger recorded 22 touchdowns and 22 interceptions for 3,845 passing yards. Running back Marshall Faulk's stats also took a hit in all categories as he was slowly creeping up in age. And after the 2003 NFL season, the St. Louis Rams did the unthinkable and cut their Super Bowl winning quarterback. And with that final offseason move, the greatest show on turf was now over. And as the years have come and gone, many simply wonder why the Rams never became the dynasty everyone expected. Many point to the fact that during the 3 seasons where they dominated offensively, the Rams were a turnover machine, turning the ball over 109 times in 3 seasons. And in that 3-year stretch, they only played 7 games of turnover-free football. Often when you think of great teams, great coaches always come to mind. However, an argument could be made that Mike Martz simply failed as a head coach after taking over the helm. He made questionable coaching decisions, and in his own words, he simply put too much stress on his quarterback. While dominating the league offensively for 3 consecutive seasons, 2 Super Bowl appearances during that stretch would not constitute a dynasty. It's difficult to criticize a team that won a Super Bowl, but when you hear the greatest show on turf, many don't think of what was, but rather what could have been.